I still remember the exact moment the words left my wife's mouth. It's just a wedding. You're overreacting. Those words cut deeper than a knife, and what made it worse was that my daughter, my own flesh and blood, stood right next. To her, nodding in agreement, the two of them stood together, united, while I stood there in shock, realizing that I wasn't invited to my daughter's wedding. How did it come to this? How did the man who worked late nights, who carried his daughter on his shoulders when she was little, who saved every penny for her education, end up being treated like an outsider in his own family? It all started a few months before the wedding. I knew my daughter, Emily, was getting serious with her boyfriend. She would come home with a sparkle in her eyes, giggling over texts, spending long evenings out. I thought nothing of it young. Love, after all. But then one night she came home with an announcement. Dad, Mom, I'm engaged. I was happy for her, truly. I hugged her tight, told her I was proud, and even offered to help with the costs of the wedding. She smiled, but avoided my eyes. My wife, however, looked far too excited, like she had been waiting for this moment, but not in the way I expected. Over the next weeks, planning began. But as details were discussed, something strange happened. Conversations would shift when I entered the room. Guest lists were whispered about, budgets discussed behind closed doors. When I asked questions, my wife would say, "Don't worry about it. It's all under control." I brushed it off at first. I thought maybe they wanted to surprise me. Maybe there was something special they were keeping hidden. But then one day, I overheard them in the kitchen. My wife's voice was hushed. "Do we have to tell him? He'll just make it complicated." And Emily's reply was like a dagger. "He doesn't need to be there, Mom. Honestly, it's easier this way." My knees nearly buckled. My own daughter didn't want me at her wedding. When I confronted them, they looked at me with those practiced, dismissive smiles. "Dad, it's not personal," Emily said, her arms folded. "It's just you and I haven't always seen eye to eye. I don't want any drama on my big day." "Drama?" I asked, my voice cracked. "Emily, I'm your father. How can you get married without me there?" That's when my wife stepped in. "You're overreacting. It's just a wedding. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Just a wedding." For me, it wasn't just anything. It was my daughter's wedding. It was supposed to be the day I walked her down the aisle, the day I gave her hand to the man she loved. But in their eyes, I was nothing more than a guest who could be crossed off the list. The weeks leading up to the wedding were torture. Invitations went out, but not one for me. Friends asked if I was excited, and I had to force a smile lying through my teeth. "Yes, of course. It'll be beautiful." Inside, I was breaking. On the day of the wedding, I sat alone in my living room, dressed in a suit that no one would ever see. I pictured Emily in her gown, my wife by her side, laughing, smiling, pretending as if I didn't exist. But fate has a cruel sense of humor. That evening, I received a call from an old friend who had been invited. He couldn't believe what he had seen. "Man, I don't know how to tell you this," he said, his voice heavy. "Your wife, she gave a speech. She said you weren't supportive of Emily's relationship, that you always stood in her way. She told everyone that's why you weren't invited." My heart sank. Not only had they excluded me, they had painted me as the villain, I thought. Back to every sacrifice I had made. The late nights at work to pay for her piano lessons. The way I skipped vacation so she could attend summer camps. The times I went without so she could have everything she wanted. And now? Now it was nothing more than a villain in her story. That night, as I sat in the dark, I realized something. Family is not always blood. Family is love, loyalty, and respect. And if those things are missing, then what you have isn't family. It's betrayal dressed up as love. I made a decision then and there. If my wife and daughter could erase me from their lives so easily, I would return the favor. I packed a bag, closed the door behind me, and walked away. I didn't leave with anger. I left with clarity. They wanted a life without me. They could have exactly that dot, and as the years passed, I built a new life one with people who truly valued me, friends who became family, people who respected me. I never stopped loving my daughter, but I stopped begging for a place in her life because sometimes the cruelest betrayal teaches you the most powerful lesson. You can't force people to see your worth. You can only decide to stop giving it away to those who don't.